Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 2, text 11, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Ashochayan Anvashochastvam Prajnavadamscha Bhashase Gatasun Agatasumscha Nanu Shochanti Panditaha. This is also an important verse in Bhagavad Gita. Well, all the verses are important, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you're mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise, lament neither for the living nor for the dead. The Lord at once took the position of the teacher and chastised the student, calling him indirectly a fool. The Lord said, you're talking like a learned man, but you do not know that one who is learned, one who knows what is body and what is soul, does not lament for any stage of the body, neither in the living nor in the dead condition. So we can see till the time they were friends, Krishna didn't give him the knowledge. Krishna didn't call him a fool because that relationship was of a friend. But now, as soon as the relationship is changed, Arjuna is telling Krishna, I accept you as my guru. I don't know what to do. You help me. So then, as a teacher, Krishna is taking up that position and saying, you're a fool, You're giving me so many reasons that you don't want to fight, sinful reactions, loss of family tradition, you can't enjoy the kingdom, the family values will be lost, there will be unwanted population, so many things. You're appearing to be learned, but you're actually a fool. So this is what a spiritual master does. He helps us open our eyes. He helps us take away our ignorance. And that's the reason the spiritual master is so important. Each of us should have a spiritual master. Now, what is he saying? That one who's wise does not lament neither for the living nor for the dead. What are you lamenting for? What are you lamenting? Is this that people you're thinking that they are the soul, that they are actually the person? As explained in later chapters, it will be clear that knowledge means to know matter and spirit and the controller of both. So we say, oh, I'm going to get knowledge. There's so many fields of knowledge in this material education also we have, spirit, science, maths, economics, engineering. And now we have computer science and all these things. But Bhagavad Gita, what it means, knowledge? Knowledge means to know matter, what is spirit, and who is the controller of both. Arjuna argued that religious principles should be given more importance than politics or sociology. But he did not know that knowledge of matter, soul, and the supreme is even more important than religious formularies. So when we say, oh, I know matter and soul, okay, I know the body is matter, and I know we are not the body, we are the soul. And okay, the Lord is the controller. Okay, I know. So we all say it, but do we actually understand it? What's the position? What is the position of the Supreme Lord? What's the position of the matter? What's the position of the soul? We have to properly understand this knowledge. We say, yes, I know. Everyone, if you go, yeah, I know I'm not the body, I'm the soul. But then if they are the soul, then how shall we act if we are the soul? If we are not the body, then how shall we be acting if we are not the body? And because he was lacking in that knowledge, he should not have posed himself as a very learned man. As he did not happen to be a very learned man, he was consequently lamenting for something which was unworthy of lamentation. The body is born and is destined to be vanquished today or tomorrow. Therefore, the body is not as important as the soul. One who knows this is actually learned, and for him, there is no cause for lamentation, regardless of the condition of the material body. So we have to try to understand that I am not this body. Yes, right now I am inside this body. The birth and the death is for the body, not for the soul. So we should try to understand this important knowledge. And then what will happen? Because right now we are thinking that we are the body. So we are attached to everything connected to the body, I and mine. And so anything that goes against our desire, either to our body or anything connected to the body, we lament. If anything goes against our desire to our body or anything that is related to the body, that we lament. That's the reason Krishna is saying, try to understand that you're not the body. Is that okay? Yeah. So.
Yes.
But we are all like, it's so, we hear it, but it's so deep in us that we continue to act on the bodily platform. So we need to repeatedly hear the message of Bhagavad Gita. Natva evaham jato nasam natvam neme janadipa na cheva na bhavishyama sarve vayam ataparam. Now this is a very, very important verse. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So this is the evidence that we are all eternal and that Krishna himself is also eternal. He's not saying that never was a time where my consciousness did not exist. No, he's saying never was there a time when I did not exist. When we say I, we refer to ourselves, right? When we say, oh, I am tired, I am sleepy, or whatever, it means we are talking about ourselves. Same here, Krishna is saying about himself that never was there a time when Krishna did not exist. Then he's telling Arjuna, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So we are all eternal. In the Vedas, in the Katha Upanishad, as well as in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, it is said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the maintainer of innumerable living entities in terms of their different situations according to individual work and reaction of work. So now this is Shruti, Katha Upanishad as well as Shvetashvatara Upanishad, because many people, they do not believe Smriti. Many people say, oh, what is the knowledge which is mentioned as a remembrance? The Gyanis, they don't accept it. But the Gyanis accepted the knowledge which is heard, Shruti, like the Vedas. So Upanishads also coming from there. So then that's why Prabhupada is giving this evidence. Katha Upanishad and Shvetashvara Upanishad is also saying that. That, what is it? That is the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the maintainer of innumerable living entities in terms of their different situations, according to individual work and reaction. So we think actually, oh, I'm maintaining my family, I'm maintaining myself, I'm maintaining my body. But when somebody really tells us, oh, I'm dependent on you, how nervous we get, how will I take care of that person? I'm not able to take care of myself. How can I be responsible for another person? Because each of us is being taken care of actually by Krishna. That Supreme Personality of Godhead is also by his plenary portions alive in the heart of every living entity. Only saintly persons who can see within and without the same Supreme Lord can actually attain to perfect and eternal peace. So this is said in the Katha Upanishad, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Kaman Tam Atmastam Ye Anupashyanti Dhiras Tesham Shanti Shaswati Netaresham. Katha Upanishad 2.2.13. That the same individual, eternal, there's this eternal individual who is taking care of all the other individuals, all the other eternal individuals. And he is also present in the heart of every living entity. And so one who can see that this Supreme Lord, he's the same Supreme Lord. He's inside the heart of every living entity, yet he's outside of it. Then he can actually attain perfect and eternal peace. Because Krishna is inconceivable. He can be inside everything and he can yet be outside of it. Why not? He's God. He can do anything. The same Vedic truth was given to Arjuna is given to all persons in the world who pose themselves as very learned, but factually have a poor fund of knowledge. The Lord says clearly that he himself, Arjuna, and all the kings who are assembled on the battlefield are eternally individual beings, and that the Lord is eternally the maintainer of the individual living entities, both in their conditioned and in their liberated situations. So it's not that the Lord is maintaining us right now because we are in the material body, and that once we give up this material body and when we are liberated, when we go to the spiritual sky, then, oh, we don't need Krishna anymore. There we will maintain ourselves. No, he exists. He maintains us even in the spiritual world. Every moment he is maintaining us. And that we are all individual beings. It's not that right now we are individual beings and after we give up the body, all of us are going to merge into each other and become one big, that lose our individuality and not remain conscious beings anymore. No. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme individual person, and Arjuna, the Lord's eternal associate, and all the kings assembled there are individual eternal persons. It is not that they did not exist as individuals in the past, and it is not that they will not remain eternal persons. Their individuality existed in the past, and the individuality will continue in the future without interruption. Therefore, there is no cause for lamentation for anyone. So we were individuals before also in another body. We can't remember that because when we change the body, we forget. And it's good we forget, because how will we be able to live with all the activities that we have done? So whatever, so many offenses, so many things we commit, sinful activities, how would we be able to live of millions of lives? So it's each time we take up a body, it's not that we are individual only when we are inside the body. No, each soul is individual. And even after we get liberated, we will continue to remain as an individual in a spiritual body. Then we do not have a material body when we are liberated, but we have a spiritual body. Okay. The Mayavadi theory that after liberation, the individual soul, separated by the covering of Maya or illusion, will merge into the impersonal Brahman and lose its individual existence, is not supported herein by Lord Krishna, the supreme authority. Nor is the theory that we only think of individuality in the conditioned state supported herein. So what is the Mayavadi theory is that, oh, right now, because we are in the body, we are individual soul, but after we give up the body, we will not exist anymore. We will become the light. But that is saying that, oh, because a green bird is flying inside a green tree, and so that means the bird has become the tree. No, the bird is different and the tree is different. They're always individuals. And there's evidence given. So Krishna clearly states herein that in the future also the individuality of the Lord and others, as it is confirmed in the Upanishads, will continue eternally. So Krishna is also quoting the Upanishad. He's saying I'm saying it, but the Upanishads are also saying it. This statement of Krishna's is authoritative because Krishna cannot be subject to illusion. If individuality were an artifact, then Krishna would not have stressed it so much even for the future. So we will continue to remain individuals. We are not going to become light. At no point in our existence are we going to not exist and that we will become the light. The Mayavadi may argue that the individuality spoken of by Krishna is not spiritual but material. Even accepting the argument that the individuality is material, then how can one distinguish Krishna as individuality? Krishna affirms his individuality in the past and confirms his individuality in the future also. So Krishna, he is saying, I continue to exist. I used to exist. I am existing and I will continue to exist. He's saying for everyone also that Arjuna also was existing before. He's existing now. In future, he'll continue to exist. The kings, all of so many kings were there on the battlefield. They existed before, now they're existing currently, and they will continue to exist. Nobody is going to become light. Nobody can become anything. The soul continues as in its own individuality. So, and then, where is that? He has confirmed his individuality in many ways, and the impersonal Brahman has been declared to be subordinate to him. Krishna has maintained spiritual individuality all along. If he is accepted as an ordinary conditioned soul in individual consciousness, then his Bhagavad Gita has no value as authoritative scripture. Now somebody will say that, oh, but Krishna, he is also ordinary living entity. He's not God. Then why shall we listen to the Bhagavad Gita? If he is just like us, then each and every living entity is subjected to 4 defects: mistakes, imperfect senses, in illusion, and cheating others. You know, then Bhagavad Gita will not have been accepted as an authority. But we all know that Bhagavad Gita is an authority. A common man with all the 4 defects of human frailty is unable to teach that which is worth hearing. The Gita is above such literature. No mundane book compares with the Bhagavad Gita. When one accepts Krishna as an ordinary man, the Gita loses all importance. The Mayavadi argues that the plurality mentioned in this verse is conventional and that it refers to the body. But previous to this verse, such a bodily conception is already condemned. After condemning the bodily conception of the living entities, how was it possible for Krishna to place a conventional proposition on the body again? Therefore, individuality. So here, what is the argument? That, oh, it means that everybody will remain as different individual only as long as they are in the body. Only when they are in this material world, they have a material body, they are individual. But when they are not in the body, everybody is light. Everyone is, nobody exists, only light exists. But therefore individuality is, but Krishna himself is saying that the body does not matter. What matters is the soul, and that you existed, I exist, and we will continue to exist. So Krishna is referring to the soul here, not to the body. That the soul was existing, was existing before, is existing now, and will continue to exist. This is an important point for us to understand. That's why there is such detailed discussion on this. Therefore, individuality is maintained on spiritual grounds and is thus confirmed by great acharyas like Sri Ramanuja and others. So individuality is maintained on spiritual grounds, mean each of us is an individual spirit soul. Each of us. It's not that we are individuals only because of this body. The body is actually dead. The body is just dead matter. The individuality which is coming is because of the soul. You know, it is clearly mentioned in many places in the Gita that this spiritual individuality is understood by those who are devotees of the Lord. Those who are envious of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead have no bona fide access to the great literature. So if somebody wants to say, oh, why shall I accept Krishna's teachings? I don't want to accept. Then, as Krishna says, he does not reveal himself. He does not reveal the truth. But if somebody wants to understand, Krishna will reveal the truth. The non-devotee's approach to the teachings of the Gita is something like that of a bee licking on a bottle of honey. One cannot have a taste of honey unless one opens the bottle. Similarly, the mysticism of the Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by the devotees, and no one else can taste it, as it is stated in the 4th chapter of the book. So what is it if we are trying to taste honey, but we don't open the bottle, we are just from outside trying to lick the bottle, we won't be able to taste the honey. So similarly, if we are approaching Bhagavad Gita with thinking, oh, Krishna is just an ordinary person, he's just like me, he's just speaking some gyan, let me try to understand maybe some gyan, but he is just like an ordinary person, then we will never be able to understand Bhagavad Gita. And we can see it practically. There are so many translations of Bhagavad Gita. And then you get more and more confused with what they are trying to say, because they themselves get more confused inside the word jugglery. So, nor can the Gita be touched by persons who envy the very existence of the Lord. Therefore, the Mayavadi explanation of the Gita is most misleading presentation of the whole truth. So if we are so envious that why shall a person exist who's greater than me, and that I'm God actually, then what will we learn from the Gita? Here we are trying to understand what is God's instructions. But if we think we are we are God ourselves, and nobody needs to give me any instructions, then what will we learn? If we think the teacher, I know better than the teacher, we are not going to be able to learn anything then. And so that's the reason Lord Chaitanya has forbidden us to read commentations made by the Mayavadis, and warns that one who takes to such an understanding of the Mayavadi philosophy loses all power to understand the real mystery of the Gita. So because the Mayavadis are so envious that why is somebody superior than me? Why is God superior than me? I'm God myself. So they're not able to understand the teachings of the Gita. And then Lord Chaitanya says, we should not read even these. We should not read the Mayavadi commentary. Why? Because our desire to become God is so strong. Each and every one of us wants to become God. That's the reason we are in the material world. And the Mayavadi philosophy, that's what it propagates, that yes, you, me, everyone, we are God. We just forgotten it for some time, but we will become God in future. So then if we continue doing that, then how will we get out of the material world? How will we understand the truth? If individuality refers to the empirical universe, then there is no need of teaching by the Lord. The plurality of the individual soul and the Lord is an eternal fact, and it is confirmed by the Vedas as above mentioned. So it is not that Krishna is saying that, everybody says the power of the universe. No, Krishna is saying, I myself existed. You yourself existed, Arjuna, not as the body, because earlier he already said that don't give so much importance to the body. So all this is to the soul, individuality of the soul. That the Lord is there. He is the Supreme Lord, and we are so many individual souls. Right now we are in the body, of course, but we have to get out of this body and get a spiritual body. And the Vedas confirm this fact. It's not that it's just somebody's interpretation or somebody's imagination. No, it is confirmed in the Vedas. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Any comments, questions?
I think it was little technical, but yeah, it's clear.
Yeah, it is technical, and that's why I didn't want to stop it in between. But this is the point, it's like a very important point here being said, that we, the souls, continue to exist. We always existed, we are existing right now, and we will continue to exist even after we change the body. Yeah. So, okay, we'll stop here for today. Thank you so much for listening. Hare Krishna. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Shla Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.